Okay then, everybody, welcome to XLR. We are here for round 13 of the Tier 1 season. And we are at the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort for today. So far, only 18, but we may get some more later on. But it is just a full 3 qualifying sessions for the time being. And we just wait for some of these cars to get out onto the circuit. We've just got 18. There's an obnoxiously loud loudspeaker on this circuit, so that's always nice.
Always nice to hear, innit?
Yeah, you just rather not hear it sometimes.
But Hearts, I believe, is serving a
Yeah,
quali
Hearts.
ban,
Yeah, he is. So he's just retired from the session.
I believe that might be an Alpine coming out first.
Yeah. Jay-Z's on as well. So Jay-Z is the first car out onto the circuit. No one going particularly early out onto the track. No rush here from anyone. But then there is the McLaren as well of Pyro. He's just on his way out as well into the pit lane exit now. It's a fairly short track, so there's no particular rush onto the track.
And here goes the donuts for Jay-Z.
Yeah.
That is amazing coming from him.
Yeah, we've got 2 people joining that we're not expecting, so this is going to be interesting. 2 people that joined there, 1 expected to join, which is never the best thing. But that should be... Oh, no, one of them's joined the session. Oh dear. Yeah, but Jay-Z is just coming around the final corner of turn 13 into 14 to begin what will be the first qualifying run of the session. Then, as he barrels his way down into turn 1, although he is doing a no ERS lap on the medium compound as well, so we'll get a more representative gauge of pace from Pyro, who's not too far behind him. He's just going into turn 1 now then. Just gets his papaya black and blue McLaren rotated through that first sector, now around the banking of the carousel. I'm not quite sure on the steepness of it, but I think it's around the region of 15 degrees. As Pyro coming to the end of the first sector with a 24.6 in that first stint of the lap, then just gets it into the 2 successive hairpins of turn 9 and then around towards turn 10 again. He gets back on the power, opens that rear wing flap, and heads down into the chicane of 11 and 12. It's just one more proper corner to go from this point. And then flat out round 14. Jay-Z to the top with a 111.8. But that likely won't stand for too long as Pyro around the final corner now. And he indeed does set a 1 minute 10.1. We've got the Mercedes of tech support in the final corner now. And he just swings his way around flat out from here. DRS active. And up to the line he goes. And goes to the top with a 109.6. That was done on the soft tyres compared to the mediums of Pyro. Perkins there with a 1 minute 10.8, which I didn't notice when it came onto the board. El Plan's the top with a 1 minute 9.1. Then it's Mr. Business to follow him through onto a 109.9.
Yeah, so those medium tyres for Jay-Z will not be doing the best for him. So he has a massive slide. coming out the final corner, but he would definitely be looking for those sets of soft to really set that.
Yeah, he's coming back in. Obviously not gaining any lap time. I think if we don't get these two cars out, we may be forced to have a lobby restart, just because they've now taken up the full 20 and we've got two other drivers that we're expecting. So I think a lobby restart will be necessary at some point at least. Rolling Dice jumped his way up the order into P6 there. Then we have D10, I believe. Okay, so the two Ferraris are both on outlaps. Then there's the AlphaTauri of El Plan, who's likely on his way in. And there's Tech Support, who I believe is also on an in-lap, unless he's about to go again, which I think he might be, you know. Just starting. Yeah, new lobby.
That means these sets of tyres won't matter, or they?
I mean, no,
they're doing a quali restart.
Yeah, we're doing a restart for quali, so it will just restart the quali session, just with 6 minutes wasted.
Right. Not the best way to start off.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much you can do about it. Pyro wants to get the new lobby going as soon as possible, yeah. Which is fair enough. You can't... There was nothing we really could have done because we had a 19th driver who wanted to join, but just couldn't because his seat was taken up by someone that shouldn't be there. I think that's actually an old invite. I just joined an old invite. I try to give the other drivers as little screen time as possible, but alright.
So then, Numi, what are your predictions for quali?
I mean, there's always one obvious favourite for pole position, that being the German in the Haas car. Of course, Shakos, definitely the fastest over one lap. You can never quite tell how each driver will suit a particular track, but I think it's always quite a safe bet to put it on for Shakos on pole.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. It's quite a guessing game, isn't it, when it comes to qualifying?
Yeah.
There's no
I mean,
always to tell how the race will go.
I'm trying to work out what we're doing about weather. I think the idea at the moment, at least, is that it's wet dynamic. That's what Pyro suggested, and that's what people do seem to. Well, I don't know. We'll just. It's so far the consensus is going with that, so I think that's what we will be doing. So there'll be a bit of rain at the start, possibly throughout, but rain is only guaranteed for the opening stage. I just gotta sit and wait now for the time being. We've got 17 of the 20 drivers back in. Alright, so we will be getting back underway shortly after that stoppage. And it's the issue of running it on friends only, I guess, instead of invite only. But I mean, we didn't get too far into it, so it's not the end of the world. Just means we're about 15 minutes late as we go into qualifying. Right, so Q1 is now back underway after that stoppage. So now we just have to wait again before the cars go out onto the track. But now we do have the full 20 as Luke the Blade has joined. And Hearts retires again. And we do have some cars there on their way. I believe one of them is Mr. Business. And indeed, he is the first one on the track. Just the AlphaTauri emerging from the pit lane now. And he goes on to the circuit. And is the first to begin his outlap. Then we also have Jay-Z on the circuit as two, and then there's Rolling Dice who's on his way out. Then there's also, looks like the Alfa Romeo there of Zach is Beast. But it is still Mr. Business that is the furthest around his outlap. Just a couple of corners, and then he will be getting the first lap of this second Q1, if you like. And he'll start getting that one underway. Takes into the final proper corner, the final braking zone. Gets back on the power again. And he will swing his way around turn 14. Now blast down the pit straight to begin the first run of this Q1 session. It's a very short circuit, this one. Lap times around 1 minute 10, I believe. Possibly like 109s or lower. He just flicks his way through the carousel hairpin. Back up the hill again, he climbs before getting into turn 7 right-hander. It's a long corner with quite lethal curbs on the exit. I mean, the same can be said for quite a lot of them on this track. I think it's a bit of a kick from the rear as he went into 9, but he's kept it going round 10. Now on to the first of the two DRS straights into the final chicane. For just one corner to go until he closes the line, and it could be a pretty solid lap from Mr. Business here for the for a first run. He gets a bit on the curb though, which is more than he would have liked. But from here it is just flat out to the line. He comes across to set a 109.6.
Very decent lap coming from Mr. Business, especially by getting on that curb in the last
Yep,
corner.
Jay-Z behind. Although that is a non-ERS lap. But he did go into P2 with a 111.7 with that. El Plan just beginning a lap as well. Then Untos also doing so. Zaket's Beast in the final corner is about to finish his first flying run. He's just stamping on the power, up to the line he goes into P2 with a 1 minute 10.3. I think Jay-Z's backed off his second run there, which indeed he is. So he's gonna have to go for another one. Then I believe Pyro just beginning a lap. Then behind is the Williams on Perkins up to the line. She goes into P3 with a 1 minute 10.3. And behind Vibes FN just beginning his first run. There's no plan around the final corner. Who's going to come up to the line and go to the top with a 109.3. Then here goes Jay-Z beginning his first proper run of the session. And Untos around the final corner comes up to the line, goes into P3 with a 109.8. Then we have Peter Flat up to the line. He's just beginning a flying run. I'm not sure if Martinez is still on a push lap at this stage. He's doing an Inters run anyway, so yeah, he's pulled into the pit lane there. Wouldn't have been the most competitive lap anyway, but it's always good to get that extra track time. Then, jumping up the field there is D10 into P4 with a 110.1. Then, I think next car on a lap may be... No, it's not Jay-Z, it's his Alpine teammate who's just coming around the final corner. And up the line he goes. On the intermediate tires, can only manage 14.5. Then Pyro has not had the greatest of laps there, only matching a 37.0. So something has gone wrong in the process of setting that lap. Jay-Z had an improvement as Pyro going round there at turn 2. Just on the entry to 3 actually. So I think Pyro will have to come into the pit lane if he wants to set another run. Untos is just starting another flying lap as Peter Flat has got a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking, which most likely is just another car being a bit too close to him on the outlaps, which is quite common.
Yeah, Pete Flat will not be looking towards that when it comes to the race.
Yeah. And it's... Why is D10 just been... Then someone jumping up the order then would have been tech support, I believe, in the Mercedes in P11. Are we actually doing a lobby restart? I can't tell at this point. Vibes just into the pit lane. Is that actually no damage? No, damage is off. Oh dear. I think we may have a restart after qualifying, but can't be sure about that. Gianuzzi just starting a flying lap, going through that first sector at the moment. Peter Flat just on its way in. Yeah, we will have another restart after qualifying. Fuzzle, I think, is just about to begin another flying run. Just in the Mercedes. Indeed, he is. He's just going again. Then we have Luke the Blade also just beginning a run. Jack Imac coming to the end of one, goes to the top with a 109.2. That's done on the medium tyres as well. So, it's a promising show of pace from the reigning champion here. As then it's the Mercedes of tech support just going to the line. I believe he's just starting another run though. And then we've got Giannuzzi around the final corner, comes up to the line and goes into P14. But that was, yeah, so it's not the best show of pace there from Giannuzzi. I'm sure he has more in that car, possibly just starting another run. Then we got Fuzzle 3/10 up in the first two sectors. And so you chose it into the final proper corner now. Activates DRS, goes on round turn 14. And he runs out of fuel before he can finish his run. So Fuzzle will have to end that one early as he comes into the pits. Which is a shame for him because it did seem like it's a fairly promising lap. Luke the Blade jumps up by about 6.5 tenths to go into P4. Martinez just on his way out of the pit lane. And Jack Imac just on his way in. Jay-Z's just starting another run now on the soft tyres. So is tech support. And then Giannuzzi, yeah, he does find more time. Shakos has just been disqualified for blocking the pit lane. So he's trying to get out of the way of oncoming cars. And the game does not like that. Ooh, that will not go down well in the Haas paddock. Yeah, that is... yeah. Luke the Blade just coming into the pit lane. Then it's Liam Walder just about to begin his first flying lap. And then so is Pyro. And then tech support, 3/10 up, just coming around the final corner now. And up to the line he goes into P7 with a 6/10 improvement there. Giannuzzi just on his way in. Then Untos just beginning his next run. So the furthest around a lap at this stage is the McLaren of Liam. He's heading into the chicane of 11 and 12. He gets back on the power. Just one more proper corner to go for him. Where he wants to get the best exit he possibly can. Gets back on the power as early as he can. And round 14 comes up to the line. And goes to the top with a 108.9. So this fight for pole has now got a lot more interesting now that Shackles is removed from the equation. Pyro into P4 with a 109.491. Then it's Martinez who are also going into P3 with a 109.2. Back-to-back race winner here is Martinez as Untos pulls into the pit lane, clearly not improving on his time. So we've got Fuzzle just about to begin a lap. We've got D10 also on an out lap. There's Martinez on an in lap there. Yeah, so as Fuzzle begins his next flying lap, he is the only car currently on a flying lap. So he chucks it through the first sector into 3 now around the hairpin, taking quite a shallow line. And then he gets back on the power. Then he goes up the hill into the 90-degree right of 7. It's a long right-hander. And then it's a slightly less long right-hander of turn 8. And then 9 of the first of 2 hairpins. Then he flicks it into 10 again. And then he gets back on the power with DRS active. Down a fairly short straight into 11 and 12. And then he swings it around for chugging it into 13 and then 14. On the power now with DRS active. And up to the line he goes in the Mercedes car. And he goes into P5 then with a 109.4. Very respectable effort from the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, as we also see D10 coming up to the line as well. He is going to be setting a 109.1, so that is a very good lap coming from D10.
Yeah, it is a very strong lap. Just a few cars beginning lap times for the time being. And I think the furthest car around a lap at this stage is Perkins, who's just at the start of Sector 2. And he's got Fuzzle in the Mercedes just in front of her. Gets out of the way nicely. Before she just chucks it towards the final sector. Gets on the power for the short DRS straight. And it's about a 10th gained for the Williams in that first 2 sectors. Just got to chuck it through the final 2 corners now. You can see how much of an improvement it is, but no! She goes just too wide at turn 13. And that will probably cost her all of that time. And yeah, she does pull into the pit lane. And it'll be quite tight to see whether she can get back out in time in order to set a final lap. Then we've got Jay-Z in the final corner now. So he gets a bit of a toe from D10 before coming up to the line into P9. That is not bad at all from the Alpine car. Then it's Untos around the final corner as well. And up the line he goes into P6 with a 109.4. Are we seriously about to restart and do short quali now?
I think they're just having a bit of a pull right now.
Yeah,
right now,
just seeing.
Go on to the race.
Then it is the Alfa Romeo of... I'm just trying to... Who is that Alfa Romeo? Zach Beast. No, he's on an outlap as well. So there are a lot of cars on outlaps at the moment. I don't think that there is actually anyone on a lap, as Petrobras is also on an outlap. Then the Red Bull of Luke the Blade is in the final corner now, but he's coming into the pit lane with only 50 seconds to go. Luke the Blade won't be improving here. And he pulled into the box. That will be the best he can do. A 109.7. Giannuzzi about to begin his final flying lap. But he does have a bit more security than some of the cars around him. Untos just beginning his next run. Rolling Dice is just about to begin one as well. So we see quite a few cars retiring at this stage. But it's Vibes in the final corner. He's about a second and a half up, but he's only just beginning a proper push lap now. And Jay-Z will also not be improving then. The checker flag has fallen, so everyone not on a flying lap at this stage will not be registering any improvements. First one to the line, head flat around the final corner. Up to the line he goes. It goes into P9 for the Aston Martin, which should be just about safe. Zakis Beast is not currently improving. He's going incredibly slowly, so there'll be no improvement there for the Alfa Romeo. Giannuzzi probably needs this lap. He's only one position ahead of, only two ahead of the drop zone at this stage. He jumps up into P10, which should be enough to get him through. Untos, I think, does improve, but he didn't need the lap anyway. Perkins does enough to jump up into P14, but then that becomes P15 again as Techsport jumps in P11. So it's all down to which Williams car will be out, and it's going to be rolling dice. He's incredibly out of shape in that final corner. And so Perkins has just about scraped through ahead of her teammate in rolling dice.
Testing.
I might mute this entire time.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Yes, Perkins comes around the final corner to begin the first run of Q2. And into turn 1 she goes. She gets not quite up to the limits just yet on the circuit, but just making sure she doesn't over push the car too much, taking it round the carousel and then up the hill to turn 7. Over the crest and down again, tumbling through the elevation changes, back down again through 8, then into a relatively flat section of the circuit of turns 9 and then 10 before getting back on the power down into 11 and 12. Because there's a car right on the racing line there. That is not ideal at all. But I think she's still going with that lap. As DRS active now, round the final corner, and she will cut the line to set the first run off Q2, being a 1:11.0. I think she would have lost quite a lot of time in that incident at turn 11. We got Jay-Z slotting into second. Then Flat just starting a lap. So is Martinez. Then I believe it's El Plan in the final corner. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's Mr. Business who is just beginning a lap as well. El Plan now around the final corner to go to the top with a 109.5. D10 is not pushing on that lap, so he's abandoned somewhere around the course of this track. Jack Imac also just beginning a flying lap. Pyro in the final corner is about to set another time, and he goes to the top with a 109.3 in a very solid lap from the McLaren driver. Then it is Jay-Z who is on his way into the pit lane. Then we see Fuzzle coming up to the line, and he might be doing another lap. Yeah, he's going for another one there. 3 seconds off the pace is not quite the lap you would have expected from Fuzzle on a push lap. Martinez to the top with a 109.0.
As Mr. Business follows him through, he goes up to P4 on the medium compound tyres. What a lap coming from Mr. Business there.
Yeah, that. He's really pulled the lap out of the bag on that one. Now Jack Imac coming around the final corner as well. He comes up to the line and goes to the top with a 108.6. Going fastest by 0.4 of a second. Then it's Luke the Blade around the final corner. Goes into P5 with a 109.7. For Limberwalder just about to start a lap. But Fuzzle comes to the end of one now. Round the final corner and up to the line. Goes into P8 with a 109.9. Tech support just beginning one as well. Then Martinez and Petterflat are both on their ways in. And then Giannuzzi is just coming into the final two corners now. And he's going to come up to the line shortly, doing this run on the medium tyres as well. And up to the line he goes into P10, which looks quite dire for him, but he's done that on the medium compound. So we got Limwalder through the final corner and up to the line, goes into P2, about pretty much perfectly halfway between Jack and Martinez at the front. But then it's Tech Support up to the line, can go into P5 with a 109.3. Fuzzle just on his way in there, and I think, although Mr. Business is on a lap at this stage, he's coming into the final sector now. As he's about 2.5 tenths up on his previous, already quite impressive personal best. So he could jump his way up to around P6 with this effort, as he swings his way around the final corner, and up to the line he goes. But he can only manage P7, as he slots in 1,000th of a second behind his teammate. do have L Plan on a lap at this stage, about a tenth and a half up in that first sector. We'll just have to wait and see how much he can improve by across the total lap. It's about 2.5 tenths after the first 2 sectors. Just chucks his way around the hairpin of 12. Then he's going to come up to the line shortly. Just 2 more corners to go for L Plan. And he goes up into P3. A 1:09.0 is an incredibly impressive time from the AlphaTauri. We've got D10 on an outlap just behind where the AlphaTauri was. I doubt Tech Support's going to go for another one, although he does seem to be charging the battery, so possibly he can. He's done a couple runs already on these tyres, but he does seem to fancy going for another one. As Tech Support comes around the final corner, he does now start deploying his battery, so Tech Support about to begin yet another flying run, so it'll be probably his 4th lap now on these tyres. So he's just working his way through the first sector now. I think his teammate Fuzzle also about to begin another flying lap, as has D10 just done. And Tech Support is about a 10th up in that first sector, so it's looking like it could be a time good enough for P5 at this stage, but he could always find that bit more time around the other 2 sectors of the racetrack. As he just comes around turn 10, DRS active, down into 11 and 12. He does lose a tiny bit of time in that middle sector, but it shouldn't cost him too greatly. He needs 0.07 of a second to improve above Pyro, but he doesn't find that. It gets really out of shape through that final corner, and that is probably going to cost Tech Support all of that lap. And indeed, he does come into the pit lane, so he lost all of that lap time he did have. D10 is getting a massive tow here from his teammate Jack Imac as he jumps up into P3 with a 1:08.9. Then just a few other cars working their way out onto the circuit as Fuzzle jumps up into P6 with a 1:09.1. And then Perkins also on her way out. Martinez in P5 retiring is a fairly bold call. Then it's the AlphaTauri of Mr. Business just beginning a lap as he goes around the final corner. Same story for Jay-Z. And then also will be mirrored by Luke the Blade. I think Jack Imac and D10 both on their ways in. As Jack doesn't have to set another time. He should be safe there at the top. Fuzzle doesn't have the fuel to go again, so he'll be pulling into the pit lane. Petter Flat on an outlap will just be about to start another run as Jack Imac does retire then. And Fuzzle, I believe that is, into the pit lane. Indeed, he is. So he'll need to get a bit of a move on.
Cars on track. Mr. Business is going to be looking to really set his time here on these new soft tyres, proving himself that he's very good on the mediums. What can he do? Oh, but he has a massive slide out of the final couple corners. Will it matter though coming into the very final corner? And what time will it be up to the line as DRS is enabled with 20% battery left? It is going to be Not an improvement. It is definitely an
It's
improvement, but it
bad.
won't be
Yeah, so
enough unless he can save his battery and go again. This will be devastation coming from Mr. Business.
Jay-Z improving up can only improve up to P12. As Luke the Blade jumps up into P9. Then it's the Aston Martin of Petterflat who's 3/10 up at this stage. So that lap actually won't be enough to get him out of the drop zone unless he can find some more time in that final sector, which he does get it neat and tidy through that final proper corner. Up to the line for the Aston Martin. Finds half a second to get him through right on the edge though. Tech support emerging from the pit lane will have to get a bit of a move on if he wants to set another lap. Then it's Pyro 2.5 up in that final corner. And that should see him nice and safe into P6. Fuzzle retiring has decided he won't have the time to go again. Jay-Z is going again by the looks of things, but he won't get another lap after this one. But no, he doesn't have the time, so Jay-Z pulls into the pit lane, and he is out in Q2. Mr. Business has been able to recharge his battery, so he's just about to go again. There's a lot of cars retiring from the session, deciding they're not going to get any improvements in. And there's, in amongst that lot of cars, there's Luke the Blade. And just noticing he has the exact same lap time as Petterflat, who is still going and right on the edge. Tech support just beginning his next lap. Petterflat has also had the chance to go again. Perkins in the final corner now. This is going to be the last effort she can pull off in this session. It's up to the line for the Williams car. Is it enough to get her through? No, it's not. She remains 15th. Unitas is also a 10th and a half up into the final couple of corners. Although he's a bit safer compared to some of these other drivers. But it's always good to get yourself nice and safe. It's improved by 1/10 of a second, but can't jump up any positions. Then Mr. Business here getting a massive tow all the way down the straight from Pyro. And it is enough for him to jump up into P7 with a 109.1, which pushes Petterflat into the drop zone. But he's 2.5 up. The tech support around the final corner as well. He can't improve, so tech support is out in Q2 here. Then it's all pretty much down to Petterflat as Giannuzzi is also knocked out. So it's whether Petterflat can find any time at all, which he can, and that pushes Luke the Blade out in Q2.
Some very big shockers then from...
Is that on me, or did you just cut out?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, some very big shockers though out in Q2, especially from Luke the Blade and Gian, and definitely tech support as well. It's a big shocker coming from those drivers, seeing as he got outperformed by a couple, I think maybe two tier 2 drivers. So, like I said before, big shocker coming from the tier 2 drivers. So that is the end of Q2, and we'll be moving on into Q3 in just a moment. Okay, so into Q3. Drivers are still in their pit boxes waiting to come out. Will we see though who will be the first driver to set a lap? is I believe it's the Alfa Romeo of Martinez, followed by, I think it might be Liam. I believe it. Oh, it is Pyro. Fair enough, he wants that better track temperature. Wow.
So Martinez comes around the final corner to begin the first run, or first of his first run of Q3. He just begins his lap now, barreling down into a hairpin right of 1. Gets quite a lot of curb on the exit for chucking it into 2. Round 3, a bit of oversteer through 2. But he's managed to keep it going. And then he's chugging it back up the hill into turn 7. It's a long right-hander for the Alfa Romeo driver, and then he chucks it in now into turn 8. There's the 2 hairpin rights of 9. Then goes round to the left again of turn 10. Before he gets back on the power again, and down the short DRS straight into turn 11. It's a 47.8 in that middle sector from Martinez. And he gets a bit of a tow from the McLaren, getting quite close to that rear end. Before he comes around the final corner and up to the line for Martinez, who sets a 108.7. So it is
going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah, it's very competitive for a first time. Pyro can only manage a 109.9. And then, I believe it's the Red Bull of Untos, but he's pulling into the pit lane. Evidently not happy with his run. Mr. Business around the final corner is going to come up to the line as well. And he goes into P2, a 109.1. So he's only 4/10 off Martinez. Fuzzle slots in with a 109.3. Then it's D10 with a 108.7. And then his teammate Jack Imac just beginning a run. El Plan slots in right behind his AlphaTauri teammate with a 109.2. Then next up it's Liam Walder on his way into the final few corners with a 47.8 in that middle sector. Then he's going to chuck it into the final 2 corners now with DRS active before he comes round the final corner and up to the line. And into P3 he goes, but he can only manage a 108.8, although actually he is fairly close to D10 and Martinez, around a 10th off the pair of them. Then it's Pedder flat around the final corner as well. He is just beginning a proper push lap. And then just Jack Imac to go for the first runs. And he goes to the top with a 108.5, taking provisional pole position by 2/10. I think Martinez will have a bit more time than that, considering it's...
Especially with having a lot of new soft tyres as well, so he
yeah,
will definitely find a lot of time.
Yeah, he's got all of those fresh sets. And just the other cars filing their way into the pits. I think Petter Flat is the only other driver that's currently on a lap. So he's got DRS active down for a short straight into 11 and 12. And he's about 10 seconds up on his previous best of a 1 minute 20. So you'd expect there to be quite a lot of time in this car. So he comes around the final corner now, and it's a fairly long run to the line, but he sets a 109.0. And I think at this stage we just kind of have to wait for some other cars to come in. Although actually Mr. Business is about a tenth and a half up, but he is low on fuel, so it may be tight whether he can get to the line or not. With the amount of fuel he's got, yeah, and he has to pull into the pit lane. He was up on his time, but just didn't have the fuel to complete it, I'd imagine. And then it's Martinez going for his second of 3 potential runs we could see from the Alfa Romeo today. See, just barreling his way into turn 1. And he just can have quite high hopes for this race. So he gets a bit out of shape on the exit of 3. Actually winning back-to-back the previous 2 Grand Prix, did Martinez. So he's just chucking it around 7. He's really testing the limits of this Alfa Romeo. And he's not taking many liberties with the car. He's really testing what he can and can't do. Before he goes blasting into final couple of corners. He's about 2 tenths up on his personal best. He needs to find a bit over 2 tenths though if he wants to improve. Just goes round the final corner, out of shape there through 13. That will cost him time all the way down into to the line, and he comes into the pit lane.
Right into the pits.
In favour of just going for another run. Jack Imac reckons he's got 3 tenths in his lap. So that one will be slightly scary.
One thing we should be looking out for though is Unitos, who still hasn't set a time.
Yeah, likely saving tyres.
Yeah, might seem like it, but like we said earlier, or I said earlier to myself, that we don't really know how the tyre wear is going to be round here, so it could be very high. But Unitos is really relying on these soft tyres.
Yeah, we've got D10 just on his way out. It's just, as we speak, just the Ferrari coming out into the pit lane. It's worth to mention as well for Unitos, like, if he makes any form of mistake on his lap, he's qualifying P10, pretty much.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a disappointment if Unitos can't really get any higher up than he is right now, so he is truly putting all his belief in his skill here.
Yeah, just, he can get some time, but I think he will have used just 1 too many sets for his liking, or possibly he's just saving a soft set for the race. D10 on an hour lap, and then he's also followed by Petter Flat, and then there's the McLaren of Pyro also on his way out. Then Jack Imac on his way out onto the circuit, preparing to give his teammate D10 a lovely tow into turn 1 at the end of his lap.
But still no sign of Unitos.
Possibly just...
Maybe.
I mean, no, he is on his way out now.
I can't see that far down the pit lane. There we go.
I've got like the telemetry, so I just see he's in first gear, which means he's on his way out. It does have to be held as Liam Bewalder comes out, but D10 has now begun his, was it likely his final flying lap here, so he chucks it round the hairpin of 3 before getting back on the power. Then it's a few slight kinks as he charges up the hill into 7 and 8 before he goes over the crest. Round 7 goes a bit wider than he would have liked there. Then I think he's backed off that lap, which indeed he has. D10 abandons his lap within just over a sector. So he does have the time to do that and go for another one, but it will mean he doesn't get that toe from Jack Imac down the pit straight. So behind him then, I think it's Mr. Business. No, he's just beginning a lap now. We've got a few cars on their outlaps. I'm not quite sure who the first round is, like, on a push lap at this stage. I think it might be Pyro in that first sector, who's 3 tenths up through that first sector alone. But if he wants to get anywhere higher than 9th, he needs at least 6 tenths of a second to find in that car. But I'm sure there is plenty of lap time in his McLaren.
As Unotos just starts his very first lap of Q3 and his only lap of Q3, so he is, like I said earlier, truly believing in his skill here. But as he goes through the long, very steep left-hander, he's really going to be wanting to be putting in a good time here to jump a couple cars, maybe even past Mr. Business, if he can really get the chance. But coming through the long right-hander as well, down to 6th.
Pyro jumps up into P5 there. Just in the McLaren. Mr. Business up into P4 as well. Yes, there is quite the degree of track improvement. Jack Imac up to the line. Improved by almost 4 tenths to a 108.1. So the checker flag now falls. So no new laps can be begun. D10 coming around the final corner was about a 1.5 up. But he ends up losing time in that final sector. Can't improve. Martinez runs about a 1.5, but he can't gain any positions there. Can't displace Jack Imac, who remains on provisional pole position. El Plan jumps up into P4 as Liam Buwalda takes that final front row position. Untos can only manage P8 on his only flying run. And then it's fuzzle around the final corner, 3 tenths up. But he can only manage P8. And I don't think any of these cars that theoretically can setting more laps will be setting any more. So it is Jack Imac taking yet another pole position. But I think if Shackles was there, he would have had a bit more of a fight for it. Martinez saying he messed up his last sector there.
That's going to be P9 for Unotos.
I mean, with one run, he wasn't, like, it was a decent run from him, but it wasn't
the best idea.
Yeah, it wasn't probably his best piece of work out there today. Right, and then we have to go to a new lobby again for the race start. Just waiting for Jack Imac to come into the pit lane.
That will be the end of Q3.
Yeah, we have to go through a lobby restart though, which sucks. But so it is Jack Imac taking another pole position, followed by Liam Buwalda on the front row. Then following them will be Martinez, then D10, El Plan and Mr. Business, followed by Pyro, Fuzzle, Unotos, and Petaflat.
Are we having a lobby reset, are we? Right. So, back into the lobby.
So, if we do have the full 20 back in the lobby, we should be getting underway sometime soon. Hopefully, at least. I mean, Pyro just probably making sure he's got the settings right 100% this time. Just after what happened last time. We should be going sometime soon. Hopefully. Just have to wait until Pyro gives us the go ahead, and as he's typing out, we do get underway again.
In about 4 minutes.
Yeah, we go now, and then it's 4 minutes till the start, but it shouldn't be too long. I mean, we shouldn't be having to wait for too long, since we have just like that loading time as well.
Just waiting for everyone to.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's also that. And then once we do that, then there'll also be the time that it takes to actually get into the lobby, and then so that the wait time shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully. I think some of the people have forgotten to check Discord. So they're all just sitting there.
Probably gone to the toilet.
Wouldn't blame them. It's Martinez unreadies.
I think the biggest shock of qualifying, though, for me, was Shaq being disqualified.
Yeah. And he just tried to get out of the way of other cars on their push laps, and then did it like too close to the pit lane exit. Then the game didn't like that very much.
I think that happened in France last week in Q3. He blocked the pit lane, I believe, and then he got disqualified.
Quite possibly did. I didn't end up catching the stream because I was busy doing other things. No, I think at that point I was busy going to sleep, to be honest. Yeah, I just... So it's a 2-minute waiting time. Everyone will be on the intermediates for the start. And then it will go to a period of... then the track will dry out, possibly to slick conditions, and then it will start raining again. So it's going to be a changeable race, and possibly a fairly lengthy one. How long do we have? About 2 minutes until the race start. And it's about 1 now.
Yeah, so people won't be rushing too much, but they'll definitely be trying to get their setups done.
Yeah, make sure they got their setups, make sure they got their strategy. Make sure all their tyre temperatures are correct, because often people use a time trial setup, or some of them do, and then the pressures will be completely wrong. Should be going within like 30 seconds now. I'm not sure what the actual time is. Yeah, 30 seconds from now. And we should be underway soon. So it now turns to 49 minutes past. And there we go. We now will be getting underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Hopefully, at least. Still just waiting for them to all start going on the grid. Hopefully, maybe.
Anytime now.
Take your time, game. There we go. Yeah.
Off goes Jack Imac then to set us off on the formation lap, followed along by Liam. That's his second P2 in a row, I believe, in qualifying.
Possibly even more. He's always like just about there, but it's not. Interesting. Gianuzzi is the only car to have underfueled here by the looks of things, despite it being a wet race. So, not entirely sure why, but yeah, every single driver on the medium tyres. Tech Sport disconnecting there, unfortunately for him. Tech Sport, there we go. Okay, wait. But that will mean that Tech Sport's car will be controlled by an AI for the start. But it shouldn't matter too much because there's a car at the back. That's rolling dice.
Very, very big spread of the field.
Yeah, rolling dice is somehow like 10 minutes behind where he should be.
Yeah, Shaq and I believe that's...
Yeah, that's rolling dice. Like, he must have spun. Trying to get some temperature into the tyres.
Maybe Shaq trying to make the most of the formation lap.
Yeah. I mean, look at Jack and Liam. Are just in the middle of nowhere compared to everyone else.
I'd say, as El Plan seems to be in the P3 slot. Oh no, it's just the other two drivers have gone ahead far.
Yeah.
Way further ahead.
Yeah, Jack and Liam are just miles down the straight. Well,
I mean,
if the front lot have cold tyres, then I mean, it might make the start a bit more interesting. Rolling Dice is still right at the back. Oh, tech support's gone again. I think he's having to restart his game.
That probably means Gio will have the best tyres.
Yeah, well, theoretically. But I mean, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Oh, that's a really awful camera angle for the start. Gotta love it. Yeah, no, it's just, it happens every time. Here we go then, for the Dutch Grand Prix to 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. And just a pretty even start from the front too, but Jack Imac has got away well. He does lead them into turn 1 then. There's not too much change out the front of the field, as they all seem to have made it through turn 1 without too many incidents, too much contact. There's position changing all the way at the back, but at the front it remains relatively calm. They're side by side round the hairpin. That's Fuzzle and Pedaflat, and then in front of them, Pyro going for the move on Mr. Business, gets that move done up the hill. And then Untos also on the back of the Red Bull looking to go for a move, but there's no way through for him. And there's a car very wide there on Martinez, a bit of contact with D10, and L Plan goes sweeping past the pair of them as Martinez got right out of shape, and that's invited Pyro through as well. D10's now really struggling. I think he might have a bit of front wing damage from that. So he's tumbling down the order. It's still side by side between Pyro and Martinez, but the McLaren does get himself through. It's side by side now, Mr. Business and D10 into 10. There's a bit of contact between the two of them, and D10 just about keeps himself ahead. Now Unitos is alongside Mr. Business round the outside into 13. There's contact again. Mr. Business somehow keeping his car in a straight line. Now Fuzzle going through. Is he going to make the double overtake there in the final corner? There's contact between Pedaflat and Unitos. There's a car spinning into the pit lane there. That's JZ. Pedaflat is out the race, and that's only a virtual safety car despite all of that.
5-second penalty goes to Jay-Z with a...
Yeah, like collision with Pedaflat, which saw the Alpine...
out the race.
It saw the Alpine spinning into the pit lane. It has now been upgraded to a full safety car.
But still, Jack, Imac and Liam still leading the front two, with L-Plan and Pyro getting a great start off the first 2 laps, getting 2 and 3 positions.
I mean, I think they pretty much capitalised on Martinez and D10 having a bit of a tangle.
A great start from Hearts, doing 9 positions up from where he started.
Yeah, from what it looks like, I think Martinez got a bit of oversteer around 7, which put him like to the inside of 8. D10 tried to go around the outside, then they met in the middle, and that just let Pyro and El Plan through and dropped the pair of them back down to 5th and 6th. Yeah, it's like there's no change at the front, but everywhere else, and tech support getting a really, it's a poor start due to no fault of his own. But none of the leaders coming in. It's not time for any slick conditions just yet. D10 does come into pits, possibly for some damage. Luke the Blade also in. And then JZ obviously will be on his way in too.
Yeah, I believe that was the front end plate off D10's car then, so they put a new rear front wing on and comes out in P17.
Yeah, from how it looked, it did seem he got some damage from that contact with Martinez. Oh, Techspot's gone again.
Techspot really not having the best race out tonight.
Yeah, it's internet. Oh, I assume everyone is staying on the intermediates, which indeed they are. Yeah, no one's gone for any interesting strategies. Jay-Z also getting rid of that 5-second time penalty that he got. So we've got no penalties in the field either. So for the time being, it's just a matter of everyone is basically in the same conditions of all on pretty much new intermediates, but some just in slightly more fortunate track positions than others. Yeah, Tech Sports Xbox is slightly struggling then. Can't comprehend his greatness. So, then we just waiting for the safety car to come in, and just waiting how long it will take for the field to bunch up.
As Daisy comes around the final corner.
Yeah,
he'll
comfortably catch them this lap. I don't know why Shackles is going so slowly though. He's leaving. No, he's not going slow enough to warrant that from the game, or at least I'd imagine he's not. He's basically staying pretty close to the pack. So there's D10 has just overtaken Tech Support there, who goes back through. Yeah, Jay-Z's now caught the pack. And Pet Flat goes.
Bit of a trade there. Well, I think Pete Flat left anyway since he's out the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's not much point sitting, like, in the session when you're not taking part in it. I think the safety car may be in this lap. It should be, which indeed it is. Yeah, so the driver's just warming up their tyres again before the restart. There's it's quite a big weight that you can give here, so it goes in right at the start of Sector 3, which is better than quite a lot of circuits, where it often comes in quite late.
As the rain has also stopped.
Oh, yeah, it has. So it's just a matter of how long until it becomes ready for the slick tyres. It probably won't be long, just because it usually dries out fairly quickly on this game. Jack Imac bolts now,
wow.
And he's caught Liam completely napping there, and Jack Imac just accelerating off into the distance, and there are cars opting to come into the pit lane now, most likely for that soft compound or slick tyres. Indeed, Unitos does come in for the medium compound. El Plan side by side with Martinez for third place. The Alfa Romeo going to the inside of the hairpin, gets that move pretty much done. Pyro trying to go through on the AlphaTauri on the exit, but he doesn't quite have the drive to do so.
Just the business not having the best restart, already dropping out of that second gap. So he's now trying to push back to it, but everyone now who hasn't pitted is going to be wanting to pitting this lap, just to make sure they are not risking any positions lost under that safety car restart.
It's people like, I think some of the cars that have already pitted will start to gain quite a bit of time compared to the cars staying out, depending how much it is slick conditions at this stage. Shakos has got past Zakis Beast there, up into 10th place from the back of the grid, so already it's been a good start from the Haas driver. Not quite compared to some of the other cars in the field, but will we see any pit stops from these leaders? As Jack Imac stays out, they all staying out. Pyro and some of the cars behind him of Mr. Business comes in, as Fuzzle stays out then. So not many opting to come into the pit lane. It's just Pyro and Mr. Business this time around, and they may well come out behind the cars that already pitted. But looking at it, they will remain ahead of Unitos. There's a yellow flag, which...
Like the beast was round, so he's not going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, it's at the point where it's... At least last lap, it wasn't faster to be on those slick tyres, as Pyro has emerged ahead quite comfortably of Unitos, and so has Mr. Business. But it may be at the stage soon where it is those slick conditions, at which point these leaders have to come in quickly, or otherwise they could lose 2, 3, even 4 places just from getting the strategy a tiny bit, just barely wrong. Just could cost them so much. They need to get this timing absolutely perfectly if they want to remain in a chance for race victory.
Yeah, as the dry tyres are setting laps about 3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah, Jack Imac is in. They're all into the pit lane. They are, every single one of the leaders, they're all filing in. And Fuzzle has sped in the pit lane. Both Haas cars, however, have stayed out on the track. DRS is now enabled, which is typically on this game a telltale sign of what the conditions are looking like. The leaders are going to emerge a lot tighter than they would have liked, with Pyro Mr. Business behind. But Jack Imac does remain out front from Liam. And there's
maybe not the best strategy call coming in too early on those medium tyres.
I think they... Yeah, no, they have actually lost a tiny bit of ground. Pyro a bit further back than where he was. But it wasn't the most detrimental strategy call. I mean, I think it switched about halfway around the lap, so the gaps remained fairly similar. D10 came in and accidentally fitted a new set of intermediates. So he's going to be losing so much time this entire lap until he can get back into the pit lane. But surely, surely the two Haas cars have to come into the pit lane, or at least one of them does. It's probably at the point where if they don't come in, they'll end up just losing more time, even despite the double stack. And indeed, they both do file into the pit lane, but they'll fall back below where they were before. It's on to lap 9 now. On to 8. Jack Imac it's miles out front. Pyro with the fast lap of the race, a 1:16.8. But it was the outlap for all of these leaders, so they won't be quite as close. They won't be quite as fast as the McLaren. But speaking of the McLaren, Jack Imac has completely cleared Liam Buwalda by 1.2 seconds. So there will not be the DRS flap opening for the McLaren. But right behind him, Martinez is about 1/10 and a half behind. So he will get that DRS advantage. So it may well be quite a simple move for Martinez to get ahead of Liam. D10 came out on another set of intermediates. He's done it again. Which, oh dear. It's not the strategy called from D10. It really makes you realise what team he's driving for. It's Martinez now onto the pit straight with DRS. Goes to the outside of the McLaren driver. There's nothing Liam can really do to fight that. And Martinez moves up into second place. And now has the goal of hunting down the race leader in Jack Imac. But he has also used a lot more ERS than the race leader has. So he's going to have a lot more to fight with than Martinez, as Pyro has pulled ahead of El Plan. Some battles going.
Imac does have a ton more ERS than Martinez, because Martinez had to use a lot of battery to really charge through the field then, just to make sure he's...
Oh no! That vibes it heavily into a barrier! That's got to be a safety car, which indeed it is. So Martinez using all that battery wasn't too bad after all, because he instantly can just recharge all of it. This time around, you'll be glad to hear D10 has finally fitted the correct tyre in the mediums. I think he's now done like 3 pit stops. And
so was there contact, or was it just a spin?
I think he just got I think he just lit up the rears a bit too much when trying to battle some of the cars around him. Because there was this battle for like 12th and 13th. And then they were all in a bit of a train. And then he just went slamming into a barrier. I think it was just a bit too much wheel spin off the corner. There's a car in. That's Fuzzle. Probably getting rid of that 5-second time penalty that he picked up for speeding the previous time. And tech support's been given a drive-through penalty for speeding as he tried to come into the pit lane. Like what you often see at circuits like Canada. So tech support is going to have to serve that. And he can't serve it under the safety car either. He just has to wait until they go back to green if he wants to lose all that time. Just to lose all that time again. I think he just has to hope that there's another safety car not long after this one. But far enough after that he can get away and serve its drive-through penalty. So, D10 will probably catch. So if you've got tech support, didn't have a delta. Yeah, that's just nothing you can really do. So it is mostly the yellow or medium tyres across the field. El Plan was on the hards, which is likely why he lost so much time. Perkins with the soft tyres, making up a few positions there. And then Jay-Z also on a brand new set of hards. I think, is that? Just with the positioning, it looks like El Plan was looking to come into the pit lane. But he has chosen not to. Which is probably the better strategy call. As D10 is the furthest back out of the running cars. He's just working his way into the final couple of corners. Yeah, the race really hasn't gone the way of Tech Sports today. And he does have the pace, he just doesn't get the luck. Just with his game playing up and then not having a delta. Yeah, it's just super unfortunate sometimes, but everyone faces issues once and... I don't know what I'm trying to say. Once in a while. Just filing their way under safety car. We may be going to a restart this lap. Although I think there will be one more. Yeah, we've got one more lap under the safety car. So D10 will catch the field quite comfortably. Oh no, the safety car is in this lap. Normally does it much sooner than that on this circuit. So it's decided to come in quite late. But D10 still has had the time to catch up to the safety car. So it's Martinez right on the back of Jack. So they wait to
go for a good start like he had before.
Yeah, as he goes now, and he has caught out Martinez well enough that he will remain in that race lead for the time being. The two Alpha Tauris already side by side. Is Mr. Business going to go for the move on the inside of his teammate? He does go for it. They're going to be side by side round turn one. It's the battle of the Alpha Tauris, but El Plan does come out on top, and he does remain in front of his teammate, who now has to worry about Perkins behind, who's on that soft tyre, will catch relatively quickly. But then at the front is still no change between the top 7. I think possibly even the top 8 as Shakos is now there. I mean, Shakos has caught right up to these cars around him, thanks to these safety cars. He almost had a look at going for a move on Perkins into turn 10. But he thought slightly better of it. Remains behind for the time being. And there aren't too many places to overtake on this circuit. Jack Armack just making sure he extends his advantage as much as he can in the next few laps before we get DRS enabled again. And then he has the risk of being caught and passed by Martinez and Liam behind him. This is the first lap of the race from the Ferrari driver. Shakos is that now making the move on Perkins into P7. And he does get that move. And now Urnjos going for the move as well. Also gets it done into turn 2. So
I think
Perkins...
Juntos might be want to follow along with Shaq here, seeing as he knows that Shaq is the better driver. So following him along would be the best option possible. So when he sees a gap, he might go for it.
And it's side by side between Fuzzle and Giannuzzi. 4-12 play there side by side round turn 8. Fuzzle on the outside trying to hold on. There's not really a place you can go side by side. And he does just have to back out of that attempt. But Martinez is still remaining close to Jack Imac. He's just sitting there about 0.4 of a second behind. And when DRS gets enabled in a lap or so's time, he should be quite comfortably able to remain and open that rear wing flap to try and get himself ahead of the Ferrari. And DRS is now enabled. They won't get it for about half a lap from here, but it's the fastest lap of the race from Martinez, who's now right on the gearbox of the Ferrari driver. But crucially, Jack does have almost 40% more ERS to play with compared to the Dutchman in the Alfa Romeo. But crucially, Martinez will remain with the DRS, which he can use instead. I think the most interesting or potentially upcoming battle will probably be one for P11 there. But we also have to focus on the front. But Martinez won't be close enough this time around to make any moves. But the move into turn 1 could well be on here. So they cross the DRS detection now. Martinez is comfortably within 1 second of Jack Imac. And now he gets the DRS to pull himself around the banked final corner. And now he's pulled to the outside. He actually stops using the DRS long before the straight to just remain behind. Shakos, with the first lap of the race, moves up into P6 as he overtakes Mr. Business in the AlphaTauri. We're approaching the halfway point of this race now. The rain may be coming in the near future. As the more safety cars we have, the sooner in the race it will come. Side by side between Hart and Giannuzzi for 11th place. The Welshman in the Haas does get himself up into that 11th place. But now Jack has to look in his mirrors again. He's got Martinez right on the back of him, who now has the DRS. But again, he's going to just choose to stick behind for the time being. But this time he might pounce into turn 1. Or possibly he'll just be happy sitting back, charging a bit of battery, and hoping he can drain Jax. Around the final corner they go again. And I think this time, Martinez is going to go for the move. He pushed to the inside. And before the corner, he gets himself in front. There's a bit of wheel banging between the two of them. But it's not enough to prevent Martinez from going through into the race lead. You could see it going for quite a while. But now he has finally made the overtake. And he's going to hope he can run away. But I don't think he'll be able to. Just because of the nature of the circuit and where the DRS zones are. I think it won't be long until Jack Imac gets himself back in front, or at least alongside. And there's Hart tumbling down the order in the gravel trap, almost rejoining into the side of Jay-Z, just about avoids collecting the Alpine. So Jack now, is he going to go for the move on Martinez this time around? He gets the DRS, he slingshots his way around that final corner. But into turn 1, I think he's just a little bit too far back. He does pull to the inside, but under braking, he just has to sit behind and wait for another lap if he wants to go for any move. Giannuzzi works his way up into P10 now. It's a good recovery drive so far from the Welshman, but it is only 1 point as it stands. Jack right on the back of Martinez here, into turn 7, practically pushing him through. So you'd expect him to be close enough to make a move into turn 1, but then he could just choose to stick behind again and go for it later in the day. So blast into turn 10. Nowhere near close enough to make a move there. Not that I'd expect he'd want to anyway. But now, this is where it matters. Turn 13 into 14. Now DRS active around the final corner. I don't think he's quite close enough to go for the move though. So again, he's gonna just have to settle for second place. And Perkins coming into the pit lane, getting off those soft tyres. I'd imagine from here she'd be going on to a set of mediums, seeing that these guys have taken them 13 laps, which indeed she does. She emerges at the back of the field. And now into through turn 10, down the straight again. Jack just sits behind. We've got a massive DRS train that's formed here, all the way down to Shakos in 6th. They're all just sitting in one big train. This time around, Jack Imac seems to be a little bit closer than on the previous laps. But again, I don't think he's quite close enough. But he does go for the move to the inside. I thought he was a bit too far back, but he's made the move work. And he moves up into the race lead, as I think they've now all approaching their pit windows. So Jack choosing to take the move now, timing it well. And he just made that move. Now he's just got to stay ahead until they come into the pit lane, which by the looks of things, they'll all be doing at the end of this lap. And Jack just has to make sure he stays ahead until when he comes in, at which point it's just down to the pit crews whether he can remain out in front. See, it's into turn 10 now. He does keep himself out front. There's a yellow flag. That's Zakis Beast off on the exit of 9. And he rejoins the circuit. Now, will the leaders all come into the pit lane? Jack chooses to... They actually all stay out on the circuit, but Jack does still remain in that P1 position. Are they possibly all trying to extend it to when they think it's going to rain? Because it's forecast to rain again. But it possibly just might not, as D10 goes for the move on Luke the Blade up into 11th place. Oh, Textbook's out! But that's it. Okay, he retired in the pit lane, never mind. And are you still there? I don't know. Textbook choosing to retire from the session, just unhappy with how his race was going, and I think that's just capped off a just unfortunate weekend all round. The pace was there, he just couldn't quite get it out of the car when it came to race day. Are any of the cars coming into the pit lane? No, they don't. They all do stay out. Martinez this time around almost had to think about it. But he did stay behind Untos into the pit lane onto the medium compound tyre. Jack is still just keeping the advantage around the same. but he's just got to maintain that gap, which is what he's doing. I think saying don't give up to someone that's already retired is a bit late. He's just got to make sure he keeps his car going, keeps it strong, just for the next 15 or so laps. And needs to make sure he stays strong even when the rain may come in. Just rolling dice, gets ahead of Zakis Beast. Martinez is relatively close to the back of Jack Imac, but again, there's just no change at the front. The DRS trains are really forming here. Zakis Beast and Perkins having a little battle there for 15th, and the Williams does prevail in that little scrap. Shackle's still just sitting there in P6, quite far behind El Plan. He's just conserving. Pyro with only 6% ERS is the lowest out of that train. I think it will likely stay similar to this for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine any of these DRS trains being broken anytime soon. And these guys have got to come in at some point, surely. But as I say that, you can start to notice the circuit is beginning to cloud over. As El Plan goes for a move on Pyro, the hard tyres begin to come into their own here. As El Plan makes the move into turn 1 and moves up into 4th place. The hard tyres beginning to have less wear compared to their pace deficit. And he's made that move work. Now he's got to see whether he can pass the other McLaren of Liam, who's about 8/10 up the road. So Luke the Blade now into the pit lane. It seems like the tyre drop-off is quite major at this track, so that some of these guys, if they do pit now, could run the risk of all being undercut. So possibly they are just trying to conserve to the end of the race, or to wherever the rain arrives. Oh, this is going to be a long one. As now they go around the final corner again. I doubt we'll see any change. El Plan is starting to close into that advantage that Liam Bawarda had, as Pyro is the first out of this lead pack into the pit lane. He's going for the soft compound for the next to either the end or whenever the rain arrives. And also in the pit lane is Mr. Business. But now Untos with a 1:11.6 sets the fastest lap of the race. And these guys out front are still on these old 17-lap-old tyres. They've got to find a bit more. They are likely to lose some of these positions, although Pyro did remain ahead of Untos. But they may be at risk to being undercut by the McLaren here after he came in. I think most of them have to come in this lap if they want to remain ahead of him. And it does appear that Jack Imac and Martinez are both coming in, as Martinez has overtaken Jack Imac into the pit lane. El Plan and Shakos both stay out, but Martinez is now in the provisional race lead. We'll just have to see whether Pyro can jump both of them. But Martinez, no, that's just the game. He didn't get held there. I thought he just got held by the pair of them. Now Pyro into turn 1. You can see them emerging from the pit lane on the right-hand side. Pyro has jumped ahead of Jack Imac into P7, which is a net P2 for the McLaren. And Martinez has retaken the race lead at his home race, going for 3 in a row. I think El Plan's goal will be to make it 2 whenever the rain arrives, if it does. And Shackles' goal is either to come in this lap or just to stay with him, conserve the tyres, and just go. Because he'll definitely drop to the back of that train. Well, that was the position he was in previously. Yeah, Shackles stays out again. I think he's going to go to the rain, whenever that may be. But the gap from Martinez to El Plan has fallen to only 13 seconds. And over the next 10 or so laps, it will come down even more. Jack Imac goes for the move on Pyro, gets it done. And Jack moves back up into second place, but he did get that 3-second time penalty. Although, having got that 4 entering the pit lane, he may be able to get it removed. Jack, interestingly, has gone for the medium compound tyres of purple first sector from the Ferrari driver. He's going to be now hunting down Martinez ahead of him, who's about 1.4 seconds up the road. And he's also on the faster compound as well. So he may just be able to hold on here and just accelerate away from Jack, who you can tell is pushing. And he's using quite a lot of his battery to try and stay close. But he has the tyre disadvantage. And I think that's just going to be enough for Martinez to hold on for at least the time being before his tyres start to go off. And into the pit lane comes Fuzzle from, like, 5th place. Liam Water with the first lap of the race moves ahead of his teammate into turn 1. Now, he's going to be chasing down Jack Imac, who has a tyre disadvantage to him as well. Is Jack the only one to opt for the medium compound tyre, which will likely play into his favour towards the end. But until then, he's just going to be working at a tyre disadvantage this entire time. He's now 1.5 seconds behind Martinez. And these leaders have got about 4 seconds into El Plan and Shackles out front. So if the rain doesn't come, these guys are going to suffer so much from their strategy call. Now Martinez has the DRS as well to D10. There's a bit of contact between the two of them as Martinez is trying to clear this car on much, much older tyres. Surely he can just send one to the inside, but he chooses to go for the move later on. So he's going to go to the outside. When's he going to go for the move? D10 doesn't have the DRS, and Martinez pulls to the outside, and he moves up into 4th on the right, but there's contact, and they're both in the wall, and Martinez from the net race lead has now fallen down to 7th, and that is a safety car deployed, and D10 is out of the race. So, as Martinez thought he had cleared, the Ferrari moved over to defend, and it put them both into the barrier. And now, all of a sudden, Jack Imac is back in the net race lead, but El Plan is now on the perfect strategy because he can put on a set off the soft tyres and likely still emerge close to the front. And I think they've all got to be into the pit lane here. Or at least the front 4. The front 3. I think some of the others might choose to come in as well. Yeah, El Plan's in. Shackles will likely follow suit. Shackles taking his time into the pit lane. Wanting no risk of speeding under the safety car. And they all come into the pit lane. The top 7 all into the pits. And that may mean that... No, actually they've got a massive gap to Fuzzle, so it's not going to affect that at all. But El Plan and Shackles have pulled off the perfect strategy here. as now they are 1 and 2. Giannuzzi getting held up in the pit lane, falls behind Jack and Liam. But now El Plan leads the race from Shakos, and now it's on merit, as Pyro and Mr. Business emerged very close to one another. Martinez falling down to 8th, having had to change his front wing. Fuzzle has gone onto the intermediate tyres. So Fuzzle thinks the rain is going to come before the safety car comes in, which, looking at how much is clouding over, is a real possibility. So when is this rain going to come? Because if it comes soon enough, Fuzzle could have pulled off the perfect strategy here, as he gets onto the Inter sooner than everyone else. We could see Fuzzle going on for victory here. And I think Perkins, it looked like she was planning to come in, but she hasn't. But she's chosen not to. Fuzzle is going to hope that they absolutely take their time under the safety car. He's going to hope the safety car goes as slow as it possibly can. Because the later it comes in, the less time he's going to have to be out here on the wrong tyre. So just waiting for when is the rain going to start to fall. Because that is going to be the decider of whether Fuzzle gets his strategy absolutely right or completely wrong. There is still a glimpse of sun coming out among the clouds, but it is definitely clouding over. The rain will come soon, and probably before the safety car comes in, which will likely be at the end of the following lap. But it's how much and how quickly it's going to start to fall. There's still no drops at all. Rolling Dice has decided to back off his strategy. Rolling Dice was on the intermediates. He's gone onto the slicks, by the looks of things. No, he's gone onto another set of inters. Hearts has come in for a brand new set. He's now going on to the same strategy, as the rain is now falling. The rain is falling on the circuit. The heavens have opened. And now, Fuzzle knows he may have got this strategy absolutely perfectly. Because now the rain's falling, and it won't be long until it transitions to intermediate conditions. If Fuzzle can just put up with being on the wrong tyre for just a lap or two, then he will be on the absolute right tyre, and everyone else will be on the wrong tyres. If Fuzzle can just keep going like this until it gets to the point where it is heavy enough for the inters, then he could be in a proper chance of winning the race. Now, I don't know if El Plan knows that some of the cars behind have gone for the inters, but for Fuzzle's race, he wants El Plan to be as slow as he possibly can. For all the other cars, El Plan needs to get a move on this restart. the rain is already intensifying. Compared to about half a lap ago, it was just a matter of drops. Now, it's really quite heavy. El Plan still hasn't gone. As he goes now, this plays completely into what Fuzzle wants. And now, El Plan leads them away from Shakos. And so many cars now into the pit lane. A bit of contact between Martinez and Mr. Business. They're side by side through turn 1. As you can see how much Fuzzle is dropping back. It's not the right call just yet, but it could very much be in the next few laps. Mr. Business and Unidos side by side, and the Red Bull gets really out of shape, almost just about keeps out of the barrier. Jack Imac round the outside of Shakos for second place, makes that move work. You can now see the puddles starting to form on the track. Liam Walder on the back of Shakos trying to go for third place. But now Fuzzle is going to be gaining so much time on these guys. The rain is getting so heavy compared to how it was just a mere minutes ago. And now Fuzzle will just start cutting his way through these cars, just like a knife through butter. Fuzzle is just got to keep gaining and gaining. Zakis Beast is facing the wrong way in the barriers, which will not be what he wants for his race. And now just look how heavy the rain is. The cars on the slicks are starting to struggle. But will it be quite enough for Fuzzle to gain through all this traffic? El Plan is into the pit lane. So is Liam. There's quite a few cars choosing that now is the time for the intermediates. And that puts Fuzzle up into 5th place. And he's only 4 seconds behind the race leader, Jack Imac. But that is still a fairly major 4 seconds. So if they all choose to stay out and the rain doesn't intensify much more, then Jack still may have enough to hold on and win the race. Fuzzle just sitting in P6. He can't get past the AlphaTauri ahead of him. He's being massively held up. And now that's Hearts to the inside. Going for the move. Gets it done. And now Hearts could be in a provisional race lead. They're side by side. And they're still going to go at it. Hearts has made that move. And he moves up into P5. And now it's just who can clear the traffic faster. And is it fast enough to get past Jack Imac before the end? Hearts goes for the move on Mr. Business. Gets it done. Fuzzle now follows him through into 5th place. And then they've got rolling dice on the back of them if either of them make a mistake. Hearts now right on the back of Pyro. Going to go for the move on the outside. Round the final corner. Gets left absolutely no space. So he has to try somewhere else. Rolling dice now going for it on Fuzzle to the inside. Hearts lunges one up the inside on Pyro. Gets the move done into 3rd place. Hearts could genuinely win for the 2nd time in a similar race of changeable conditions. There's contact between Fuzzle and Pyro. Fuzzle is spun round at turn 2. And that's cost him so much time. And now Hearts is right on the back of Shakos here for 2nd place. He's got so much more grip than the Haas car. Goes to the inside and he moves up into 2nd place. And it's just one more car between him and his 2nd Tier 1 victory in similar changeable conditions. Rolling dice is looking to be on for a P2 result here as well. Fuzzle may still be able to recover to P3, depending how much the track rates. And now Hearts goes to the inside, makes the move. Jack Imac is forced off the track. They're side by side. Rolling dice goes through as well. And now Hearts leads again for the 2nd time. Is leading a Tier 1 race, and he could well come out victorious here. But there is still 3 more laps to go. There's 2 to go. Rolling dice is still in with a shot. As Fuzzle now still in P5 could very well still claim that final podium position. As Shakos goes deep as well. They're all going deep into turn 1. Shakos struggling so much. That's decent then on my part as Fuzzle goes through into P4. And then Perkins retires in the pit lane then. And now Fuzzle on the back of Jack Imac. He'll be going through very shortly as well. Hearts still out front from Rolling Dice. I can't quite believe what we're seeing here. And if it wasn't for that contact, Fuzzle could be much closer to these leaders. But then El Plan is going to be soaring his way through this traffic as well. He was in the lead before all of them pitted. And now Liam Wilder goes through on Shakos. And Giannuzzi's maybe going for it as well. There's cars off everywhere. Mr. Business is out of the session. He's gone very, very wide there. But there's just one more lap to go. Then Haas could genuinely do it for a second time. So they go on to the final lap. Haas leads by 2 seconds to Rolling Dice behind, who's then about 7 seconds clear of Fuzzle. I can't quite believe what I'm seeing. I never thought it would happen again. But it's in changeable conditions if you get the strategy right. And Fuzzle did get the strategy right. He just didn't. He just made the contact. He didn't get through the cars quite clinically enough. And that is what cost him. And then when he tried to go faster, he made contact with Pyro, which spun him out. And now Shakos drops out of the points. So Shakos will not score. And this is huge for the championship as Liam Wilder's in 5th. So Liam will score about 10 points on Shakos. The championship battle is really spicing up with not long to go. And it's looking to be a close race for the rest of the season between McLaren and Haas, as it has been. The pair of them still going. But now Hart just has 2 more corners to go. And it's gonna be for the second time. He comes around the final corner. And he wins again in Tier 1. And now El Plan right on the back of Fuzzle for the final podium position. I think Fuzzle is just about going to hold on, which yes he does. Fuzzle holds on for P3, El Plan P4, Liam P5, Giannuzzi comes on P6, Martinez P7, Luke the Blade P8, JZ P9, Jack Imac not pitting, dropped into P11, P10 sorry. P11 for Unatos, 12th for Shakos, and 13th comes Zakis Beast. I can breathe again. Fuzzle got that strategy. Like, he had the strategy right. He just couldn't execute it. He couldn't perfectly execute it like how he needed. And it's the second time that Hart wins in Tier 1. I can't quite believe what we're seeing here. I mean, driver of the day, 19th to 1st says enough. Like, 19th to 1st says quite enough. I don't think I need to further state who my driver of the day is. Well, that was quite the chaotic race then. Thank you for everyone watching this stream, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time. So we have a season break. Then Tier 2 will be racing at Imola. But until then, have a good rest of your evening, and good night.